David Moyes must be sacked tonight. He needs to go immediately. The board need to begin their search for whoever's going to take over. In fact, I'd like to think the board have already got a shortlist. They should have begun that search during the World Cup break. When they decided that they were going to give David Moyes more time to turn things around, fine. I didn't agree with it, but fine. But minimum, they should have started drawing up that shortlist, identifying potential managers that could take over from David Moyes should he not be able to turn things round. 5 games now since the World Cup break, 1 win against Brentford reserves in the FA Cup, a draw away to Leeds, and we've lost the other 3. He's got to go. We've given him time to turn it round. 5 games is a long time in football. We all say, every manager's 5 games from the sack. Well, he was already on the verge of being sacked. We gave him an additional 5. Little has changed. He needs to go. That game next week against Everton is massive for the West Ham, but also for the manager, whoever that is. Whether it's David Moyes or the new manager, it is a huge, huge game for them. My worry is, and this is my big, big worry, I've got 2. 1, they haven't identified someone to take over from David Moyes because they probably feel comfortable that they won't have to sack David Moyes. In order to drop a short list of potential replacements, you need to admit and identify that you might have to sack him. I'm not confident in that, hence why we're still here. Hence why I'm getting frustrated at the situation now, because he should no longer be here, and I've got no confidence that they're going to sack David Moyes off the back of that. And it's not even off the back of that they have to sack him. They won't be sacking him because we've lost 1-0 away to Wolves. They'll be sacking him because of the football over the last 12 months. The fact is, we are in the relegation zone now. We've got 15 points after 19 games. Halfway through the season, we're in the bottom 3, and the only thing that stops us from being bottom is goal difference. David Moyes and West Ham have now picked up 1 point out of the last 21. 7 Premier League games, 1 draw. Bilic, Allardyce, Pellegrini, none of them had that bad a record. Those 3 never had 1 point from 7 Premier League games. Avram Grant did, and we all know what happened. We got relegated. We cannot afford this to happen. That stadium can't have it. These owners can't have it with their likely plans to sell the club. This squad can't have it. We cannot get relegated. But with this man in charge, it is likely to happen at this point. Look at the league table. It does not lie. 15 points after 19 games. Pellegrini was sacked after 19 games in the Premier League. He had 19 points on board. We are running out of time. And when I say time, it relates to opportunities as well. The biggest opportunity that we had to sack David Moyes was the World Cup break. That would have been the perfect time to get him out and get a new manager in. We chose not to do that. The next best opportunity is now. I firmly believe it's now because there's still 2 weeks left of the January transfer window. Should we wait? Should we wait until after the Everton game? That would give the new manager a week. A week in the January transfer window to potentially move on a couple of players and bring in a couple of players. It's not long enough. The new manager needs to be in now, not just for games, but to take advantage of the next fortnight in the January transfer window. My fear right now, while I've got no confidence in them sacking David Moyes, my fear right now is that we give him the Everton game, and that is a winnable fixture. Regardless of how bad we are at the minute, Everton are also not performing very well. It is possible that even with David Moyes as manager, we would win that game. Am I confident? Hell no. But asking me on the evening of a game that we've just lost against Wolves is possibly the worst time to ask me to make a prediction for next weekend. But if we were to win that game against Everton, this would become incredibly dangerous because our next fixture is the cup game against Derby. That's not going to get him sacked or not. That's almost a free hit. And then the transfer window's closed. He needs to go before the Everton game. I don't think we can allow a situation where he can potentially win that game, stay, and then end up getting sacked eventually. The end feels inevitable. One of the reasons I don't like discussing potential managers to replace David Moyes until it feels inevitable. And I've not really felt that until today. Even after the Brentford defeat, I thought, no, but they're not going to sack him. And obviously, I was correct. We drew with Leeds, and I called that a dangerous result because all it does is it kicks the can down the road. A draw today would have been a dangerous result because it would kick the can down the road. But that defeat prevents an opportunity to the board to sack David Moyes without having to justify it to anybody. You don't need to. Look at the league table. All you have to do is display that, and that's it. Decision justified. Go get someone else in that can work with this squad of players. Because I am adamant that we've got a good squad. We've got good players. We can get out of this. Just not with David Moyes as the manager. He's provided us some fantastic memories in the last couple of years. But he is destroying his legacy at this point. And I'm starting to move from blaming Moyes. I will blame Moyes for the game today. But I'm now blaming the board and saying, well, you need to act here. You have allowed him to stay here. You've allowed him. You chose during the World Cup break to not act. You chose to give David Moyes time to turn things around. It's not working. You now need to make the decision to sack David Moyes and get someone else in. You need to make the decision to act in the January transfer window. The squad registration, there's little room. There's only one vacancy at the minute, but use it and use it wisely. Because while I think we've got a good squad, we need something. Whether it's somebody to come in and help shore up the defence, whether it's a fullback that's adequate, whether it's somebody that can create some goals, whether it's somebody that can score goals. We need somebody in that can make a big impact in this team in the second half of the season. And we cannot do that with this man as the manager. Because what are we supposed to do? Are we meant to back David Moyes? Well, that would just be stupid, wouldn't it? Bearing in mind that he's on the verge of being sacked potentially. But at the same time, you can't not back him. Because you can't do nothing. That's worse. I always say back or sack your manager. And that's exactly what I'm saying tonight. If we aren't going to back him, because we haven't done so far, we're 2 weeks into the window and we've done nothing, we've done no business, because it feels like we're sitting and waiting. And I don't believe we're waiting to see the availability of players. Other clubs have all acted. Southampton have purchased players. Wolves have purchased players. They've brought on one of their new signings today. One of their other new signings started up front for them. Teams around us are acting in the transfer window. So it's not lack of availability of players. It's lack of faith in this manager. It's lack of being decisive. And that is what's going to cost us. We need to make a decision tonight. And that decision must be to sack David Moyes. Now, who they go get after that, I do not know. That is a debate for a different video. But I'm not even confident we'll be making that video. Because in order to do so, we need the announcement that David Moyes is no longer manager of West Ham United. And I'm not confident in that happening. We are running out of time in loads of different aspects. One, games. There's still half the season to play, right? There's still loads of times. Half the season still to play for. We can get out of this. We're not done. We're not dusted or anything like that. We can easily survive relegation. There's plenty of time on our hands in terms of that. But what I mean is, game by game, each game that we play and each game that we fail to win, we get closer to relegation, we get further away from the top half of the table. Each game that goes by, that list of managers gets a little bit shorter. If during the World Cup break, certain managers may have been interested in coming to West Ham, possibly might not anymore. And the longer we leave it, if we lose to Everton, the job becomes even less attractive to those managers. They might say, no thank you, I'm not touching that one. No thank you, I don't want that team that might get relegated. During the World Cup break, we would have been offering somebody come in and keep us away from relegation. Now it is coming and save us from relegation. You give it a few more games and that becomes an even less appealing job advertisement to managers out there. We are running out of things here. This is very, very time sensitive. And like I said, the January transfer window as well. We've got 2 weeks left of the January transfer window. We have to make it count. And to do so, I believe the first thing we need to do is dismiss David Moyes. The football isn't good enough. The results aren't good enough. The tactics are poor. The team selection is poor. It's worked for 2.5 years. He's done well for 2.5 years, but it's not working anymore. Managers tend to have a shelf life in football anyway. David Moyes, his time has come to an end. Part of me, even during the World Cup break, while I would have liked to have seen him moved on, part of me thought we'll still not get relegated. There will be 3 teams worse than us. Well, that's gone now. How can you possibly say that? Look at the league table. We're in the bottom 3. We are one of the 3 worst teams. The likes of Leicester City will be looking, thank God for West Ham. They'll also be thinking, thank God for Southampton and Everton. Bournemouth, whatever. But we will be in that group. We will be in that. Oh, that they're worse off than us. We can't say that about anyone now. Even Southampton, who we have been saying about, picked up a win today. Teams are winning. The only team that's not winning is West Ham United. David Moyes, thank you for the memories, but it's time to go, and it's time to go tonight.